Well, I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and at that time, um, the Duvalier family took over the government as a dictatorship, and um, there was no future in that environment. And the whole system was based on fear. The government always tried to create fear into the population so they can control the population. Once the population is scared, they control. So as a kid, the fear was just incredible. So then there was a time where there was somebody had a plane that was dropping bomb in the city, and I was at school taking an exam, and I remember climbing out of a window because everybody was trying to go for the door, and I was in the second story because everybody goes for the door is jammed down the hallway, and there's no way you can get out quick. So I climbed down the window and I start running. As I start running, and I could see the plane going by, I could see a guy hanging out of the door of the plane dropping the bombs. And I mean, as a kid, it was just awful. So I ran down to tried to go to my grandma, and the school where the president's son was going was attending had whenever he went to school, they had a couple of army soldiers that surrounded the school just for security. When we got down there to the school, the soldiers were like had their guns in the air trying to shoot this plane. They can hear something and they start shooting. And as I came around the corner, I saw all this shooting and the guns up in the air, and so I had to go another route to go to my grandma's house, and it was so scary. It was just you hear a lot of machine gun all over the city, and of course the planes dropping bombs, and it was just awful. Anti-aircraft fire, that kind of stuff. But the worst part is the fear, though. Not even those times, but the fear that somebody gonna say something that there was sometimes people would say something against their neighbor. They will go to the government and say, my neighbor said this against the government. And there's no investigation. The police will come over, arrest those people, and those people would just go into the houses and pretty much, trash their house and steal all the stuff, So that was so you had to think about that too. And you never knew who was a spy in your neighborhood either. They had spies all over the place. When we finally made it here, that was I almost wanted to kiss the ground because, it was just amazing. Eventually, what helped us is my dad's friend that was in the immigration department. And somehow he figured out how to do the paperwork. And we had an interview with him. At the time, the U.S. government changed hands. I can remember who was president at the time. They changed the ambassador. The ambassador that was in Haiti and went to Japan. They had a new guy. We went for the interview at the embassy. And of course I was a kid, I don't remember, but my mom told me that there was a dossier on my dad, and they even knew what church he went to in Lansing, Michigan. They knew all his whereabouts in Lansing, so we don't know how that happened. So it's we finally got the interview, we got our papers, and basically my dad had sent us money. We just bought a ticket. At the time it was Pan Am, and flew into Detroit. Well, Detroit is 1967. There was a race riots in Detroit. So we flew into the race riots in Detroit. But that was nothing compared to the fear we had there. So it didn't bother us at all. So there was a curfew, but of course the airport is outside the city, so we didn't get to see that. But it was interesting times that we left this craziness down there to come to the U.S. and find all these race issues, which we never were aware of. So that was another thing that we learned. So when we got to Lansing, it was just like first of all, we saw my dad. So that was just the best time in life for me because I remember when my dad left, I just lost it because I didn't want my dad to leave Haiti. I'll never forget that day he got on the plane. I saw him going up the stairs. And so when I saw him finally after 3 or 4 years, it was just, the feeling was just it was just overwhelming. So he bought a house on the south side on the Churchill Downs area in Lansing. And we grew up there, junior high at Dwight Rich, and we ended up going to Harryhill High School. So, of course, there was a lot of problem in Harryhill, race problem in Harryhill High School. But compared to what was happening down there, we were able to manage that. So, because the police were called at the school all the time because there was always this fight, we pretty much stay out of that whole thing. We pretty much went to class, and just stay out of the whole system. We actually had a pretty good education there, So, so far, we pretty much succeeded because of the education we got. Going to Michigan State, my sisters went to U of M, so this country it's just fantastic. It just pains me to see what's going on now with the division in the government and the people. It's very painful. Dictatorship is just awful. So that's one of the things I wanted to say because it's just so sad to see that. People have it made here, they don't realize they have it made. It's a blessing. It's just every day I think about how from where we came from and what we're doing now, and it's very lucky.